thinking. I want to welcome every one of you. I thank you for finding time to be with us today. Quickly, with the permission of the chairman of this occasion, I would like to quickly do some recognitions. With your permission, sir. Let me inform this gathering that we have with us the SA Senior Advisor to Mr. President, Media and Public Communication, Chief Sunday Dare with us. I welcome you. Thank you for coming. Also with us, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we also have with us Dr. Jamila Mohammed Dahiru, Commissioner for Education, all the way from Bauchi State. Thank you for coming. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, also with us, we have the SSA to Mr. President, Abdulaziz. Thank you for coming. The SA Media to the Honorable Minister of Information and National Orientation is here, Mr. Rabi Ibrahim. Thank you for being part of this occasion. SA Admin to the Honorable Minister, Mr. Sunday Adejo Baba is also here. Thank you so much for coming. Also with us, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have the representative of the Executive Governor of Kaduna State in the person of Commissioner for Justice, Shuaibu Suleiman, SAN. Thank you for coming. Thank you. God bless you. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, equally, we have the Director, Press, Public Relations, and Protocol of the Ministry, Mr. Aaron Suleiman, with us. We thank every one of you for coming. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, also with us, we have Professor Cosmos Eze, the Mass Communication Department, Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. Thank you for coming. Also with us, we have Professor Awawu Evelyn Yusuf from Kaduna State University. Thank you for coming. God bless you. It's very important to let you know that when an occasion like this comes and you have the royal blessings of our royal fathers, of course, it has become a very successful one. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as time I will continue. Chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria, Reverend John Joseph Hayab. Kaduna chapter, thank you for coming. Sheikh Dr. Hamid Gomi is with us too. Thank you for being part of this occasion. We have with us Dr. Rabiu Saulawa, President Jemaah Mata Arewa. You are welcome. Thank you for coming. Also with us, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have the representative of the Commandant Air Force Institute of Technology, Air Vice Marshal S.L. Rabi, ably represented today by Wing Commander B.I. Okon. Thank you for coming. You're welcome. Also with us, we have the representative of the GOC First Division, Lieutenant Colonel M.A. Yahaya. You are welcome. Thank you for coming. The CP Kaduna Command is ably represented today at this event by CSP Abdullah Yusuf. Thank you for coming. The ICPC Commissioner is being represented today by Olabiwaninu Aminat. Thank you for coming. You're welcome. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's very important to let you know that our royal father, Alhaji Bala Mohammed Tijani, Bonu Zauzau, Hakibidoka, I welcome you. Thank you for coming. Also with us, representing the Managing Director, News Agency of Nigeria, we have Bashir Rabi Mani. Wherever you are seated, you're welcome. From a standpoint, I could see the DG Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, Dr. Mohammed Bulama. I welcome you. Thank you for coming. Also with us, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have the Director General of the largest television station in Africa, Malam Abdulamin Salihu Dembos. Thank you very much for coming. I want to believe, okay, I could see him, the DG Voice of Nigeria, Malam Jibrin Baba Indache. I welcome you. Thank you for coming. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I have so many. Also with us, we have the Senior Special Assistant to Mr. President of Community Engagement in Northwest, Abdullahi Tanko Yakasai. Thank you for coming. You're welcome. I want to believe as we continue in this program, we duly recognize some of the dignitaries we have at this event. As you can see, okay, as to all the DGs and head of parastatals and agencies under Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation, I welcome every one of you and thank you for finding time to be with us. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, at this point, I would like to let you know that our time is fast spent. I want to seek and plead with you to give us the necessary cooperation to enable us just move on very fast in this program because we have so many things to do. At this point, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and privilege to invite the man of the moment, the host, chairman of Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, Kaduna chapter. I'm talking of no other person than Aaron Malami, MI, member Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. Please step forward to the podium and please give his welcome remarks. Thank you very much.
Let's go to our favorite place. Ooh, close to the fire.
Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Kaduna State, represented by the Commissioner of Justice, the Honorable Minister of Information and National Orientation, Alhaji Mohammed Idris Malagi, FNIPR. I don't want to repeat all the introductions and the protocol, but I specifically want to recognize the former chairman of Christians Association of Nigeria, John Hayab. He has been here very early. And Sheikh Ahmed Gumi. I'd like to recognize your commitment to time. And thank you very much for honoring us. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, before I commence my speech, I'd like to first of all thank my president, the president of Nigerian Institute of Public Relations and chairman of council, Dr. Ike Neleako. He got the wing of the information to this event late, and he canceled a lot of engagement this morning and drove to be with us here. Mr. President and Chairman of the Council, I want you to know we really appreciate your commitment to the Institute and to the development of this country at large. Thank you. On behalf of the organizers and the entire members of the Kaduna State chapter of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, I'm honored to welcome you all to our annual public lecture on the theme Tax Reforms, the Role of Public Relations in Fostering Constructive Dialogue for National Economic Renaissance. Today, we are gathered to explore a critical issue that affects us all, tax reform. As we navigate the complexity of national economic landscape, it is clear that tax reform is essential for national growth and development. However, tax reform is not just about policies, it's about people. It's about creating a narrative that resonates with citizens, businesses, and stakeholders. It's about fostering constructive dialogue that builds trust, promotes understanding, encourages participation. The path to economic recovery is paved with credibility, trust in our institution, confidence in our leaders, and faith in our collective potentials. These are essential for resilience. We face significant challenges across economic dynamics. Today's conversation, I believe, will seek to integrate those challenges with pertinent questions such as how can we rebuild credibility in our systems, in our institutions? How can we foster resilience? And how can we work together to create an economic future that will be of benefit to all Nigerians? Effective governance is the backbone of every successful or any successful nation. In Nigeria, the relationship between governors and citizens is crucial in building trust, credibility, and ultimately a prosperous society. This is where public relations comes in. As practitioners, we have a unique role to play in shaping the conversations around the ongoing conversation about tax reforms. We must use our skills to understand the issues, craft compelling narrative, build coalitions, and facilitate dialogues that drive positive changes. Public relations is about building and maintaining relationships, fostering communication, and promoting mutual understanding. In the context of governance, public relations help to provide timely and information by which government agencies can demonstrate their commitment to transparency and accountability, which is essential to good governance in building trust and credibility. Public relations help government agencies to respond effectively to crisis, mitigate reputational damage, and maintain a positive image. Our guest today, who also doubles as our chairman, is the Honorable Minister of Information and National Orientation, Alhaji Mohammed Idris Malagi, who is an expert in the field of public relations and perception management. I want you to give him a round of applause because he has been managing information. He's a communication expert. He has held his seat and has stand where I stand here with you now, has been the chairman of this chapter, and has a remarkable impact in both our activities and mentoring young professionals in this field. He will share with us valuable insight and perspective on the role of public relations in tax reforms, and I urge you all to listen to him attentively. While we look forward to a stimulating discussion and broader perspective from our discussants, Professor Eze, I saw him earlier on, and Professor Suleiman is right with us, and Professor Awa is also here, and distinguished Senator Shehu Sani is also part of the discussant. I believe they will engage in a constructive dialogue that will share ideas and work together towards an economic renaissance. Before I hand over the microphone to the MC, I'd like to express my gratitude to our sponsors, partners, and the organizing committee for their support in making this event possible. Special guest of honor, guest speaker, chairman, president and chairman of council, distinguished guests. The chapter shall also be honoring outstanding personalities with deserving award in recognition of their remarkable achievement and impact on our society. After which we will conclude this program with an annual general meeting. I wish to thank each and everyone for being here with us today, for taking time out of your busy schedule to honor us with your presence. I pray we have a delightful deliberation and wish our guests safe trip back to their destination. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It takes a very successful leader to lead very successful people. The chairman NRPR Kaduna chapter is a very modest speaker, but very articulate, very distinguished, ladies and gentlemen. Let's give him a round of applause, please. Before I invite this special man that I know, and I call him the special man, let me quickly recognize the following dignitaries in our midst. While I was doing my recognitions, I did not see the human rights activist, Senator Shehu Sani, let me at this point formally welcome you. Thank you very much for coming. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, also with us, we have the Chief Imam, Government College, Jumat Mosque, Sheikh Aminu. You are most welcome. Also with us, we have the representative of the Chairman, Presidential Task Force on Tax Reforms, and Chairman, Federal Inland Revenue Services, in the person of Mr. Kayode Kaje Shola. Thank you very much. Wherever you are seated, please, you may please rise for recognition. Thank you very much. You're welcome. Thank you. At this point, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, they said public relations is an intentional, planned, or sustained effort created or established to maintain a sort of mutual understanding between an organization and its public. That was what I was taught in 1996 when I was actually a student of public relations in Kaduna State here. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it has gone beyond that now. I can tell you that public relations is taking the forefront in the efforts in bringing democratic dividends to our great nation, Nigeria. There's this special man whose secret of success is constancy of purpose. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking of no other person than the President, Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, and Chairman and Council of NIPR, Dr. Ike Neliaku, Fellow Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. It is my pleasure to invite the President to please step forward to the podium and please give a remark. Please let's encourage him with our applause, please. Thank you.
Good afternoon. The chairman of this event, Alhaji Mohammed Idris, FNIPR, Honorable Minister of Information and National Orientation, the man who is informing well, communicating strategically, effectively discharging information when it is necessary, and above all, knowing when to strike, when to use overhead, when to use the wings, when to use center forward, and when to score the goals. The governor of Kaduna State, His Excellency Senator Obasani, represented by the Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice Sule Shoaib Esquire, Special Advisor to the President on Media and Communication, our own Mr. Sunday Dare, MNIPR, my boss, the immediate past President and Chairman of Council NIPR, Madam Malam Mukhtar Zubeiru Siraju, just to be sure, FNIPR. The former Vice President, who is here with us, Dr. Awal Mohammed Haruna, DGs of broadcast parastatals of the Federal Ministry. We want to appreciate all of you, beginning with the DG FRCN, DG NTA, DG Voice of Nigeria, MD NAN. All of you are with us here in Kaduna, and all the other ones. And of course, our elders, the Sheikh and the priest. We appreciate all of you. Our chairman who has convened us, Chairman Malami, thank you very, very much. What is the essence of this event? Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are here because we recognize the rights of citizens to have a say, to ask questions, and to join in conversations of what concerns them. That is why we are here today. That need is very important to us. For the avoidance of doubt, because we know that it's not only NIPR members that are with us this afternoon, there are other people. And some may be wondering, what concerns NIPR with a dialogue of this nature? as far back as 1978, our leaders brought out what they call the 7 pillars of public relations. And these pillars include the fact that public relations is an art and a science. That means we deal with research, and then we bring out the findings of our research, and then we execute. Number 2, we monitor trends. In every society, we monitor what happens. And because we monitor trends, we analyze trends. And because we analyze trends, we become prophets, because we predict consequences arising from the monitoring of trends and analyzing of trends. It doesn't end there. Because we now predict consequences of actions and inactions, we counsel leaders to say, this is what you need to do, arising from what we have identified. And then we guide in planned, effectively planned execution of programs of action. And then the 7th one, we make sure that whatever we do will serve the interest of the society and then the organization, which in this case includes government. It is in the light of this that we saw the responsibility to provide this credible professional platform for citizens to engage with government on this issue of tax reforms. We have done research, we have followed up, we have engaged, and we can really predict that unless we all sit down as we are sitting down today to discuss this matter, people may not understand where government is going. And then government may not understand the intentions of the citizens. So this is why we have provided this platform as a credible avenue for us to ventilate our views across board, to listen to what this tax reform is all about, and then to take input from the public. And we are very delighted, really, that the Minister of Information, with the full weight of the ministry, accepted to chair this event. I am aware that the minister and the ministry is arranging to take programs like this round the country to engage more Nigerians. I want to tell the Honorable Minister that we are not just willing to partner with you in Kaduna, we are willing to go around the country with you. Because it is our responsibility. NIPR has the biggest body of knowledge in Africa to take on any subject. Unknown to you, no, not unknown to you because you are our fellow. You know, sometimes because you are our fellow and you are our minister, sometimes we forget that you are a fellow of the Institute and we just address you as minister. So I'm sure that you are aware that even within NIPR, we have experts in taxation, because this is the only profession that everybody is party to. Once they have gone through our protocol and they are qualified, so you find people that studied law, they come and go through our classes and then they are inducted. You find those who are engineers, they come. You find those who are medical doctors. Today, medical doctors are communicating better to their patients because we have trained them. They are no longer telling somebody that you are supposed to die in 10 days. They find a nice way to make it so that the person will look forward to dying. This is what it means to communicate. And they are taking advantage of that. So we are urging you, sir, to take advantage of what NIPR offers. We have this structure across the country. We want to help to engage Nigerians in a credible manner, that Nigerians will have the opportunity to air their views, so that you can now take these views, collect it, and then you can go back to government and say, this is what Nigerians are saying. We know you will do it because we know you love Nigerians and you want to do what Nigerians expect. I welcome all of you for being with us this afternoon. We look forward to a very engaging conversation. In 2021, President Sirajo initiated a program, and that was Citizens Summit for National Orientation, Peace and Security. The essence of that program was to engage Nigerian citizens at a time when the nation was going through troubled moments. Many of us may have forgotten how Nigeria was in 2021, when things were very tough, he brought that program. We went round the 6 geopolitical zones and engaged, and then had the final one in Abuja on the 23rd of August 2022, with the then president as the special guest of honor at the International Conference Center. At the end of it, we decided that the integrity of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is important to all Nigerians. All that Nigerians are asking for is good governance, good leadership, good activities. And today, what we are having today is one of the decisions that we are taking at that program, that we should help to engage citizens in critical ways. I want to again thank you, President Sirajo, for that initiative. I have the report here because I go around with it. And the report is called Rebooting Nigeria. Today, we are rebooting Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Please, another round of applause for the President and Chairman Council. Anytime I'm under the teachings of Dr. Ike Neliaku, I can look at him as he goes on and on. He can sell ice to the Eskimos. Please put your hands together for Dr. Ike Neliaku.
Somebody just said that they didn't see the report. The report is existing. This is it. Rebooting Nigeria 2.0. And all these things are here. You know, Minister Idris is a member of the Institute, so he's executing the report. Thank you, sir.
Please, another round of applause for the chairman. Thank you very much. Thank you. In events such as this, introduction is a constant. Permit me to recognize the Managing Director, Railway Property, Kaduna, Mr. Timothy Dauda. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you for coming. And also we have the Head of Department, Mass Communication, and a team of senior lecturers from Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, Professor Adama Adamu. Please, a round of applause for her. Thank you for coming. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is the address by the chairman of the occasion. It's my privilege to introduce my principal, a man whom we've dubbed to be the chief evangelist of the Radio Hope agenda, a man who is key in the word engagement, engagement across all structures of the country. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together as we make welcome the chairman of the occasion, Mohammed Idris, fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, Honorable Minister, Information and National Orientation. I believe our hands can be louder than that.
Thank you, President Dr. Neliaku, for those kind words. I hope I live up to them. Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Kaduna State, ably represented by Barrister Sule Shaibu, SAN, Honorable Commissioner of Justice, Kaduna State, thank you for coming. We also have here the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Communication, himself a former minister in the last administration, Mr. Sunday Dare. He had to arrive this morning from Kaduna. Thank you for coming. The chairman of the Kaduna State chapter of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, Mr. Harun Malami, thank you for coupling this together and allowing us to use the platform to engage Nigerians on the issue of tax reform. Let me also recognize the presence of the chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, ably represented by Mr. Kehinde Tojishomo. He is actually a deputy director in the FIRS, and he helped to put together the bill that has also generated a lot of interest in Nigeria today. So he's going to lead this conversation as we go ahead. We have representatives of the civil society organization. Distinguished Senator, sometimes I don't know whether to call him comrade or senator, but I think he's all wrapped in one. We want to thank you for coming, Comrade Senator Sheikh Husani. We have the representatives of the religious institutions here. We have in our midst Dr. Sheikh Ahmed Gumi is here with us to lend his voice to this conversation. And my good friend, representing the Christian Association of Nigeria, the priest himself, Reverend Hayab. Thank you for coming. The immediate past president of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, President Mukhtar Suraj. Thank you for coming. And the one-time vice president of the Institute, representative of the traditional institution here also present, the Honorable Commissioner of Education, our own Lami, you are welcome. The representative of Jama'atu Matan Arewa, thank you for coming. The Executive Council members of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, the DGs and other officials of the Ministry of Information and National Orientation, that is the DG, Nigerian Television Authority, DG, Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, DG, Voice of Nigeria, Managing Director, News Agency of Nigeria. And before I forget, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Information and Publicity, Mr. Abdulaziz is also here. He has also worked tirelessly with the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations to bring this about. There is also the SA to the President on Community Engagement, Malan Yakase. Thank you for coming. All the SAs, all the officials, let me cut down on the protocol before it gets too long. I want to sincerely thank the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations for providing this platform for us to engage Nigerians so that we can interact more on a subject that is of interest to the entirety of this country. Let me acknowledge the hard work and dedication of the national leadership of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, led by Dr. Ike Neliaku, and by extension, the leadership of the Kaduna State chapter. The chapter has proven competently and beyond reasonable doubt that the new direction unfolding at the national level can also find its complementary equal at the state or subnational level. The theme today, tax reform, the role of public relations in fostering constructive dialogue for national economic renaissance, has brought to the fore, yet again, the place of constructive dialogue as a vital pillar of our democracy. Society advances by mutually respectful engagements, where we give voice to diverse opinions and respect those who we disagree with. We will certainly not always agree on all issues, perhaps not even on most issues, but we will always be guided by the fact that things that unite us, that is our common humanity, our nationhood, and our sense of patriotism, our collective vision for Nigeria that works for all, will always be more important and more meaningful than the differences of age, of religion, of region, ideology, gender, culture, or even social class. The topic today before us is a very sensitive and yet very important one. We can't escape but discuss this very important topic, taxation. It was the American statesman Benjamin Franklin who famously said that in this world today, nothing is certain except death and taxes. All over the world, effective taxation is important as a source of financial power for governments to provide social services for their citizens. However, there is plenty of reason to believe and assert that Nigeria's tax administration system has become long overdue for reform on account of design and implementation flaws, as well as the general attitude of taxpayers towards taxation itself. In the light of this, the ongoing review of the country's tax laws and realities is not just timely, but it is also crucial, especially as part of a larger set of macroeconomic reforms aimed at setting the country on an irreversible path of growth and development. The full details of the new tax bills are available and they are already in the public domain. Therefore, I may not take time to go over them here. But one must commend the effort so far being put together for the public engagement in this direction. What I would say is that it is very inspiring and heartwarming to see Nigerians from all walks of life coming out to express their views and opinions on these matters of critical national importance. As such, it is the very essence and the meaning of democracy itself. In spite of the challenge of trust deficit that tends to crop up around matters of governance in Nigeria, we have still been able to have what can be adjudged as a robust debate on this very sensitive national issue. President Tinubu has also been very clear that the executive will listen to and work with all stakeholders to ensure that all concerns are duly and comprehensively addressed. We will continue to ensure open lines of communication and engagement with the National Assembly, as the President has always said, and indeed other stakeholders. We are all in this together as one people, one nation, and just as we are being called upon to make collective sacrifices, we will also collectively reap the abundant social and economic benefits of all these necessary reforms. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is at a time like this that we are reminded of the important roles of public relations in the maintenance of a functioning and healthy society. By facilitating purposeful communication, building mutual understanding, and transparent promotion of ideas, public relations practice and practitioners can help to create a culture of collaboration and progress. Also, as President Bola Ahmed Tinubu continues to implement an ambitious fiscal reform agenda for our country that will devolve more resources to Nigerian states and local governments, and ultimately to the Nigerian people, in the spirit of our true federalism, citizens' engagement will become even more crucial. In other words, this kind of engagement we are doing will have to be a continuous exercise so that we can reach that road, that destination of prosperity that the President has promised all Nigerians. Those of us who manage communication for the federal government understand that we indeed have a lot of work on our hands. We are up to the task and will continue to deploy innovative and comprehensive mechanisms to provide the public with insight and enlightened information that will bolster public trust and confidence in the reform narratives of the renewed hope agenda. Indeed, we know that it's a Herculean task, but we are ready and we are all collectively in this together in the interest of our great country. We'll also be looking to count on the strong support of critical stakeholders like the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, among so many other stakeholders, which is why this dialogue is very much welcome and it is also very commendable. Let me seize this opportunity to once again thank the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations for providing this platform for Nigerians to engage and deliberate on issues, like I said earlier, that concern them the most. In closing, let me make it clear, even with our keenness for fundamental reform of Nigeria's governance fiscal systems. The Tinubu administration will never do anything to undermine the ideals of participatory democracy that all of us crave for. President Tinubu will always uphold the interests of all Nigerians, wherever they are, in this reform agenda that he has embarked upon for our great nation. The current mandate and responsibility that we have for governing and reforming Nigeria at this time came by way of democracy and will continue to live up to those very high democratic standards and expectations. The president himself is a true democrat and will not do anything that will undermine democracy in this country. If anything, he is here to advance the cause of democracy so that all of us will reap the dividend of that same democracy that we all crave. Now, of course, I am not the guest speaker here, and therefore, I will have very limited time and will cede the floor to enable us all engage in a very robust conversation that will help us all as a nation to move forward. Disagreements are important. In fact, they are necessary in democracy, but they are by no means aimed at dividing us or putting us backward. Nigeria must continue to prosper. All of us will come together so that Nigeria can be the best for it. I will now happily yield the floor to the lineup of very heavyweight of experts on the panel this morning, who will offer us very meaningful perspective on taxation and the tax reform conversation as we collectively chart a new direction for our nation's renaissance, for the progress and prosperity of our people and our country. I thank you very much for listening, and I do hope that we will have this. Let me just say this for the benefit of those of us who may be here or who may not be here and may be watching in Hausa. Just 2 minutes, if you permit. Jama'a, wannan taro an yi shi ne saboda a ci gaba da tattaunawa akan wannan harka na maganan haraji da shugaba Bola Ahmed Tinubu ya bullo da shi. Muna godiya ga wannan kungiya ta Nigerian Institute of Public Relations da ta ba da dama da mutane su zo su faɗi ra'ayoyinsu, su faɗi abin da ke damunsu saboda ƙasan nan ta ci gaba. Irin mutanen da suka zo nan a yau, manya-manyan baƙi da shugabanni da sarakuna da manya-manyan malaman addini da suka taru a nan, ya nuna cewa dukkanmu muna buƙatan a tattauna domin ƙasarmu Najeriya ta ci gaba. Ba mu zo nan saboda a zo a tauye ma kowa haƙƙinsa ba. An zo nan ne saboda a ba da dama mutane su ƙara fahimta menene ake ciki domin a yi tsokaci a kan abin da ya shahi ƙasarmu Najeriya gaba ɗaya domin ƙasarmu ta ci gaba. Wannan abin da ya kamata in faɗi a matsayina na ministan yaɗa labarai shine babu wani ƙuduri ko niyya da shugaba Bola Ahmed Tinubu yake da shi na tauye haƙƙi na wani ɓangare na ƙasar nan. Dukkanmu ya kamata a zo a haɗa ƙarfi da ƙarfe kuma a fahimci menene ake son a yi. Idan akwai gyara kuma sai a yi wannan gyara domin ƙasarmu gaba ɗaya ta ci gaba. Ina muku maraba, ina kuma godiya da wannan dama da na samu in yi wannan tsokaci a safiyan nan. Na gode kwarai da gaske.
Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you can do better, please. Communication, they said, is effective when there is a sender and a receiver. An opportunity for feedback is provided. You can see that the Honorable Minister adjusted his frame of reference to reach the grassroots. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. They say vision without action is merely a dream. But when a vision is translated into action, the society changes for the better. I want to thank the Honorable Minister for taking the lead in assuring us of a better tomorrow in this country. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's very important to let you know that this event is being covered live by the Nigerian Television Authority, Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, Voice of Nigeria, TVC, Arise Television, and channels. Please, let's give these media stations a round of applause, please. Thank you. Before we invite the lead speaker, I've been directed to give the representative of the chairman, Presidential Task Force on Tax Reforms, the chairman, Federal Inland Revenue Services, Mr. Kawade Kajeshola, few minutes to make some few remarks. Please, you may step forward to the podium and just make some remarks. Thank you very much. Please, let's encourage him, please. Let's encourage him with our applause, please.
The representative of the executive governor, Kaduna State, my honorable minister here, please help me appreciate the honorable minister. I have a challenge this morning when I was preparing to come here. And the honorable minister, when I first received this call, I was surprised. And all through my journey here, he was constantly following up to ensure that I got here safely. I am so humbled, sir. So honored. I appreciate you, sir. The essay to the president and all the essays here, our dear Mr. Dari, thank you so much. The commissioners that are here, our dear Senator Shehu Sani, our royal fathers that are here, our religious leaders that are here, other essays to the president of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, and every other dignitaries, professors, and everybody that have been invited to this program. I thank you for coming, and I'm honored to be in your presence this afternoon. I am here to represent the Executive Chairman, Federal Inland Revenue Service, and also the Chairman of the Presidential Committee that handle or that work on this tax reform. And I have a little presentation here to make. I will create your indulgence to have the presentation made. I'm going to, ordinarily the presentation was supposed to take me about 2 hours. But I assure you, now it won't even take 1 hour. I'm going to be as brief as possible. It is not how long, but how I'm able to pass the message. So dignitaries and everybody here, you are all aware that the president set up a presidential committee to drive the tax reform. And when the Presidential Committee worked on, when they carry out their work, one of the policy direction by which their work was driven were, I will briefly go through them, 11 in number. That is what they seek to achieve in this tax reform. The first one they seek to achieve is to have a tax law that is simple. For some of us that are accountants, we understand that before we can compute taxes, sometimes it can be difficult. And if it is difficult for accountants, you can imagine how it will be for non-accountants. So one of the things that one of the policy that will guide the work of the committee was to have a tax law that is simple in words, simple in rules, and simple in computation. The second policy direction was to harmonize the so many tax laws we have in Nigeria. Presently in Nigeria, we have more than 30 tax laws. And in those more than 30 tax laws, we have more than 50 taxes. So in my work in the Federal Inland Revenue Service, one of the things I see, if you are an investor that want to come to Nigeria, you don't just come to Nigeria. You first commission somebody to look at the economic landscape of Nigeria. So just picture yourself as an investor, that is a foreign investor, that has commissioned somebody in Nigeria to look at feasibility study in the area of taxation for you. And when you are coming back to that investor, you say, Mr. Investor, when you invest in Nigeria, you are going to pay more than 30 taxes. When you invest in Nigeria, you have more than 30 tax laws to comply with. You can imagine that investor, the next thing that will come to his mind will be, so if I spend all my resources and my time looking at tax law, when will I have time to do the business for which I want to do? So one of the things that drive investor is our tax landscape. So one of the things this reform is meant to do is to harmonize our laws, to have not more than 4. So that those more than 30 laws, to have just 4 laws. And to have those more than 50 taxes, to have a single digit taxes. That is, taxes that are no more than 9. At the end of the day, it might not even be up to 9, but the policy direction is that we will not have double digit taxes. Then the next thing that drive the work is alignment with economic objectives. One of the economic objectives of the government is to promote investments, to make our environment conducive for investors. And one of the things that has also been said as the economic objective is that the government is not ready or willing to tax poverty, but to tax prosperity. The government is not willing to tax capital, but to tax returns or profits. The government is not willing to tax poverty, as I said earlier, to tax seed. The government is not willing to tax seed, but to tax the fruits after you have planted the seed, the fruits that come out from that seed. Then another policy objective is to have taxes that are neutral for businesses. That is, taxes shouldn't be consideration. One of the things that drive businesses from Nigeria, so that when businesses come in Nigeria, taxes is not one of the key considerations that will drive them from Nigeria. The next policy direction is to make our economy competitive. Some of us, most of us, we complain that some businesses are going to Ghana, going to different places. So how can we make our environment, business climate, business environment competitive so that it will attract investors? Another one is to have tax certainty. That is, If you are a business or an individual, you should know what to pay. It should be sure, certain for you. If I invest in Nigeria, what tax am I going to pay? If I invest in Nigeria, and who will I pay the taxes to? Which jurisdiction? Is it going to FRA? Is it going to State Board of Internal Revenue? How am I going to pay the taxes? When am I going to pay the taxes? So this reform is meant to create certainty for taxpayer. You can imagine nowadays, even me that is a Nigerian, sometimes I don't know the number of taxes I pay, because sometimes one day somebody will just come, and a day I was driving and some people just enter my car that we are from so and so local government, come and pay tax. The tax I wasn't aware before. So what we are having in this bill will ensure tax certainty. The next one is to be taxpayer focused. The taxpayer are the goose that lay the golden eggs. So this reform is to focus on them, to make them happy to pay their taxes. So everything that will make it smooth for them to pay taxes are in this bill. Another policy direction is to modernize our tax system. Another one is efficiency of compliance and administration, to make compliance easy. Sometimes some people want to pay, but the environment, when to pay, how to pay, the process of payment is difficult. So this bill will promote compliance, ease of compliance, and it also promotes ease of administration. Then, policy direction, another one is evidence and data driven. This bill will promote data, the use of data. If FRS is saying, come and pay so and so amount, you should be able to ask, how did you arrive at it? And FRS is going to be able to say, on so and so date, you were in so and so shop to do so and so thing. On so and so dates, you receive so and so income from so and so person. This bill will promote deployment of technology that will make it possible for the revenue authority to gather data. So it's not going to be rule of the thumb, but it's going to be data that will drive tax administration. And lastly, the last policy direction is to have an economy or a tax system that comply with global best practice. So some of the things we are going to be seeing in the bill is actually not limited to Nigeria. International rules, what happened internationally, most of them has been brought into this bill. Some years back, for some of us that are conversant with taxation, we had what we call the base erosion and profit shifting project. That was an international project under the auspices of the Economic Cooperation and Development. And at the end of the day, there was 15 action outcome recommendations. Most of those recommendations has been brought into this bill to make us globally compliant. So the 4 bills that were produced out of this policy direction I said were or are, we have the Nigerian tax bill. And this is a bill that imposed taxation in Nigeria. So if somebody is asking you come and pay this tax, the tax has first been imposed by this bill. Any tax that is not imposed in this bill will not be a tax collectible in Nigeria. I mean, under the federal scope. Then we also have and this Nigerian tax bill is going to consolidate our income tax with the company income tax, the personal income tax, the petroleum profit tax, the capital gain tax. Everything will be in this bill. Then we have the tax administration bill. We have the tax administration bill. We have the Nigerian Revenue Service Establishment bill, and we have the Joint Revenue Board bill. So I will quickly now dive into what are the contents of the bill, and I will be very fast because I know I have limited time. So the bill is divided, the Nigerian tax bill, number 1, is divided into 9 chapters and schedules. But let me go to the key proposals that are in the bill. so I don't bore us with the structure. So some of the things that are there is, I said the president, the government said, we are not going to tax capital, but we tax profits or returns. So one of the things that is in the bill is to ensure that, to eliminate minimum tax for loss-making companies. What we have presently, if you are a company in Nigeria, whether you make profits or not, you will pay tax. If you make profit, you pay tax on the profit. If you make loss, you pay tax on your capital. So if we are taxing your capital, what will likely happen? The business will go under. So now we are not going to tax capital under this bill. Rather, we tax only profits. And those that are making that profit, they will have a minimum tax, which is 15% of their effective tax rate. 15% effective tax rate. The next thing that is in this Nigerian tax bill is that some expenses are going to be disallowable. Some people will not pay VAT on an expense, and they go to income tax. And one of the things I said before, the fact that before, yes, we were trying to deploy technology, but now I said we are going to deploy under this bill. Technology will be deployed fully. So it will ensure that if you don't pay value-added tax on an item or an expense, that item cannot find its way back into your company income tax for you to deduct it as expenses. So if you are going to deduct an expense, VAT must have been paid on that expense, and custom duties must have been paid on that expense. Then it's also one of the things to encourage companies, non-residents, to work in Nigeria. Non-residents under this bill will be encouraged to work in Nigeria. For instance, because of the way technology is now, digitalization, it's possible to sit in Nigeria and work abroad. We even have them so many now presently in Nigeria. We have so many of our brothers, our youth, that are here in Nigeria and working abroad. So if you are a non-resident, this encourage that if you are our resident, you pay tax. But if you are a non-resident and you are not performing the duty of your employment in Nigeria, we will not pay tax under the law. Then the next one is the reduction of company income tax rates. We know presently the company income tax rate is 30%. This bill will ensure that within 2 years, the rate is come down to 25%. There is also introduction of development levy of 4%. So this is the issue with development levy of 4%. In our existing law, I said we have so many laws. We have some taxes that are called earmarked taxes. When we set up an agency, we say company, pay tax on those. If we set up another company, another agency, companies pay tax. So what has happened is the development level will consolidate all those taxes. Instead of asking businesses, pay this, pay this, pay this, pay this, pay this, and they have to comply with the rules in respect of all of them, filing returns on all of them. Now they have been consolidated into one, which is 4% development levy, which will be shared among those agencies. And that development levy will reduce to 2% by 2030. Then one of the things, under the present law, our law says you should pay tax as a Nigerian resident on your worldwide income. So if you make income anywhere in the world, as our resident, you will pay tax. The other country where you have made income from, we say, you have made income from my country, you will pay tax. What is the implication? You are paying tax twice. So what this law, these bills, one of the provisions now is that to provide for elimination of double taxation. So if you pay tax abroad and you are paying tax here, the tax you have paid abroad, we will remove it from the tax you have paid here as long as you have declared the income. So if you declare the income here and that income is subject to tax here, we remove the tax you have paid abroad on that income to arrive at the tax you are going to pay in Nigeria. That's another thing is in this bill to encourage businesses. Another thing is zero VAT on exports. And another thing is VAT exemption for consumer goods. So presently, yes, there are some items that are exempted from VAT, but the producers of those items are not exempt. For instance, education is exempt, but schools are not exempt. So what means is that even if I say your education is exempt and the school pay VAT, what will the school likely do? They will, because they are not Father Christmas, they will shift the VAT to you. So what we have in this bill now is that education is exempt, medical is exempt, food is exempt, rent is exempt, public share transportation is exempt. So at the end of the day, in fact, what the committee has worked on is that for a normal person, normal Nigerian, don't let me use the word poor, normal Nigerian, you, based on the record of statistics from Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, it says that 83% of income of normal, ordinary Nigeria is spent on those things I have mentioned. The food, the education, the shelter. 83% of your income are spent on those things. So what the law has said now, that 83% will be exempt from VAT. So let me put it in proper perspective. It means that if you earn 100,000, like if your disposable income in a month is 100,000, what is going to happen is that 83,000 of that income, because you are spending that 83,000 on those essential items, that 83,000 is VAT exempt. So you are only going to pay VAT on just those 17,000. That is what government has done. Yes, the VAT rate is increased on that 17, but let me tell you, based on calculation, and my accountant also, if what we have before, what I said, if your disposable income is 100,000, and the VAT rate is 7.5, that means your VAT is 7,500. But what we are having in this bill now, even with the 15% VAT rate, your VAT is dropping to less than 3,000. In fact, it's 2,550. So your VAT liability is dropping from 7,500 to 2,550. That is what is in this bill. Because of time, I will not be able to, because I've been told my time is up. This is just to whet the appetite. There are so many things that are in this bill. And when questions come, those that relate to me, I'm going to answer them so as to provide more and better perspective on what we have in this bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There are times you have so many things to say, but because of time, thank you very much for that wonderful presentation. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we'll just have to adjust this program. If you check your agenda, we'll just move straight to the interactive section. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we'll be able to listen to the representative of the chairman, and I want to believe we have an understanding of these tax reforms to at least to a level. I would like to declare the floor open, but first, we have our protocols. When you're recognized to speak, you tell us your name, and please restrict your comments or your questions to the issues that is being addressed on tax reforms. We will appreciate if you do that. And please, let us be decent enough in the use of language. We will appreciate that. At this point, very distinguished ladies, because of our time and the exigency of the offices, because there are other programs that our dignitaries are attending, even outside Kaduna, please, we want you to please cooperate with us and give us that understanding. First, I would like Sheikh Dr. Ahmad Gomi to please step forward. Please, for 2 minutes, please, we appreciate if you do that, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you. You can take this. No, it's this side. Okay.
This way, sir.
No, this way, sir. This way is better. Thank you.
Standing on the existing protocol, for lack of time and so much to say, I thank the government for two things. One, stimulating the national discourse, which for a long time Nigerians are only made to swallow whatever the government wants, so this is a very positive thing. Secondly, reforms. It's not only in tax we need reforms. I think there is no sector of Nigeria that doesn't need reform. But you see, if we start with the tax, are we not putting the cart before the horse? Why? Because already there's a draft bill on the question of regional governance. And if there is regional governance, this tax laws will all change depending on region. So I think the government needs to look into this. And I thank NIPR. I just asked, for 10 years we are trying to convince the locals here, especially in the north, that polio vaccine is useful, is not harmful. So I wonder where NIPR was. This is the job of NIPR, to be engaging the society on things that are of national interest, things of security. In question of security too, NIPR can do a lot by bringing government close to the people and people close to the government, so that we can have a very stable, progressive society. Thank you very much. And I have the honor to meet the Honorable Minister for the first time. Thank you very much for inviting me for this occasion. Thank you very much.
Sheikh is a man of my generation. I gave him 2 minutes and he spoke for 2 minutes. Thank you very much. At this point, I would like to invite the former chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria, Kaduna chapter, Reverend John Joseph Ayab, to please step forward for 2 minutes, please. Thank you very much. Please, let's encourage him, please.
Mr. Chairman, sir, all protocol duly observed. You've invited us here for a constructive dialogue. I wish we had started this dialogue constructively long ago before the bill was sent to the House. Probably wouldn't have been here now. We're supposed to be making progress. But this effort is quite commendable. If we continue this, I believe in a short time, if the bill is sent back to the House, we'll have less noise and we'll have better understanding, and before you know, the bill will be passed to law. For a Christian, tax payment is not new. The Bible encourages us to pay tax. The fact about it is that from scriptural teaching, the Bible speaks more about paying tax than speaks about paying tithes. For those of us who read the Bible. So the Bible encourages us to pay tax by telling us, give to Caesar what is to Caesar, obey governing authority, pay their tax because God has positioned them for that. We do know that in development world, in every society where people pay tax, you find people responsible, you have people question government, you have people participating in the act of governance. But sadly in Nigeria, tax becomes like something new. People begin to see it as an exploitation. But permit me to say that there is a problem that we must address. There's a problem of trust deficit. Because people seem to have questions about leadership. So even when leadership come with milk for them to drink and grow strong, they will be asking whether this milk is not poison. So if we address that, some of this problem we are having today, we can easily address it. But I want to encourage Nigerians that the debate about tax and tax reform should be centered on more about how it affects people than dividing people on other regional line, religious line, or whatever line. I think this is where we are getting so many of these issues wrong. When you are telling me that tax reform is because it is anti-North, and I ask myself, am I not a Northerner? I understand tax, and there's nothing about tax that affects me as a Northerner alone, but tax for Nigerians. We must begin to speak about Nigerians as Nigerians, not about regional people. If not, our progress will be deterred. So thank you for inviting us. We look forward to more engagement. Let me beg that you do this not just in Kaduna. Can you have, as the National Institute for Public Relations, organize this in the different senatorial zones in the state so that locals will talk. Most time when we call big people here and they talk, we assume every pastor knows. There are pastors who do not know. If you call Gumi and he speaks, we assume every imam understands. There are many imams who do not understand. So calling me and Gumi here may not be enough. We take it to the grassroots, involve them, so that when people come to instigate them, they will say, we understand.
Thank you very much. We'll take another, the past chairman, Kano Jigawa District of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, Ado Mohammed Abubakar, FCA, ACTI. Thank you very much. Let's encourage him, please. Thank you.
The chairman of the occasion, other dignitaries, permit me to start on the existing protocol. I think most of the things I would like to say have been said by my colleague from the Federal Inland Revenue, and also the last speaker made something. But I would add, the tax reforms actually is long overdue. For people that are in practice like me who would agree that the tax laws being operated in Nigeria are archaic and does not reflect the economic realities. We have over 55 small laws being dealt with, and all the laws that are currently being operated, apart from being archaic, they have been subjected to so many modifications that even the practitioners find it difficult to even know where to start. For VAT, for example, after the 1993, there is 2004, there is 2007. From 2007, what we have been having is VAT modification order, VAT modification order, VAT modification order. We have like 5 or 6 VAT modification orders, which make it very difficult for people to really understand what to pay, how to pay it, and even what is the current position. So the reform as a general is commendable because it tries to harmonize all these government positions. Of course, not without issues. And what brings the issue is because taxation is a very technical subject, even within the finance. For me, what brings most of the issues at hand, and even what triggered most of the debate that are happening, is because, unfortunately, people that lack knowledge of taxation become the people that are telling people about the tax. So the misconceptions, the misunderstanding of those people who lack the knowledge really affected and heated the debate ongoing. I conclude within the short term that this is a very commendable thing from government, and now that we are doing this, I think the bone of contentions are definitions of so many things. The bill is designed professionally, and like any other profession, finance and tax have their own professional jargons. So these professional jargons should be defined in a low language that everybody would understand. Thank you.
Thank you very much. While I was trying to identify those who would like to speak, I noticed this very important person I knew for so many years. But he raised his hand, but I didn't know what to do. So I became confused because he's a very powerful person, and what we are doing today is being organized by NIPR. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the former president NIPR, Malam Mukhtar Sirajo, please, you may please have the floor for 2 minutes. Thank you. Please, let's give it to him, please.
Your Excellency, the Governor, Honorable Minister, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I I want to agree with what my elder and younger brother, he has left, Sheikh Gumi. He's my younger brother somehow, but elder brother, the bigger how. I think the question of putting the cart before the horse is well placed, but I want to say that there is no program that can be all bad, because when the lead speaker was speaking, he spoke about not wanting to tax capital, but taxing returns. Nobody should have any problem with that. Nobody would have a problem with fixing multiple taxation. So there are a lot of things, even though some of us are illiterate when it comes to taxation, there are a lot of issues with the tax reform bill that are good and they seem well intentioned. So it behoves on us not to want to throw the baby with the bath water. Let us be educated about the entirety of the bill so that even if it is cherry picking, you can cherry pick and you can criticize. But one thing I have observed is that the bulk of the work is being placed on our brother right now because ab initio, the communication component to the tax reform exercise was zero. That is why Mohammed Idris, the Honorable Minister, is now left to do the donkey work. I pity him, but we are all in this together. But I think Nigerians need to be educated on the nitty-gritties of the entirety of the thing so that we pick what we have a problem with. Like somebody was asking me yesterday, and I told him I could not provide an answer because, like I said, some of us are illiterates on the issue of taxation. That when you increase VAT for manufacturers, and you are saying you want to bring succor to the poor, increasing VAT to manufacturers, definitely at the end of the day, the end consumer is going to end up paying for those taxes. I don't know if I'm making sense, Honorable Attorney General, because the companies are not going to just pay tax and not transfer it to those of us. I don't know what the operators or the initiators of the tax reform exercise have got to say about this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I would like to, at this point, invite the representative of the executive governor of Kaduna State to please step forward and give a short remarks. Thank you very much. Please, he's representing the governor. Please, let's give him a round of applause, please.
The Honorable Minister of Information and National Orientation, Alhaji Mohammed Idris, FNIR, my very good friend and chairman of the occasion, the Royal Father here present, distinguished Senator, a true comrade. And when I say a true comrade, I mean it, a true comrade. Sheikh Hussaini. Gentlemen, I know the time is fast spent. I would not want to take so much of your time addressing protocol. Permit me, therefore, to rely on the already well-established protocol. There have been a lot of issues and concerns with regards to these new bills before the National Assembly. I must say, personally speaking, that I am indeed happy that His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, being a statesman an elder statesman, and a president for all, has directed that further discussions be held. And that is what is expected of a president. We must commend him for that. And for the NIPR to take this very bold role in doing what it's doing today, we must also commend them. Because the lead speaker, I am sure if we had the opportunity of giving him the 2 hours, many of us would have been more well informed about these bills. But unfortunately, we do not have the benefit of the time. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, when we have opportunities of this nature, it provides us the platform, at least to be able, on behalf of the government, to say 1 or 2 things that the government has been doing. So please permit me to say 1 or 2 things that the government, ably led by His Excellency, Senator Obasanjo, has been doing for 1 year plus now. It is quite important to say that there are so many notable developments that the government has been doing since 2023 to date. In terms of the economic growth and investment in this state, he has successfully attracted so many investors to Kaduna State, boosting the economy and creating jobs. His administration's efforts to improve the infrastructure have made the state an attractive destination for businesses. In terms of education, our amiable governor's administration has prioritized education, recognizing its transformative power. He has implemented policies to uplift the standard of education, including training and retraining of staff. He has also been building new classrooms and providing and improving on the instructional materials. On the health aspects and agriculture, this administration has focused on improving healthcare services through the provision of needed drugs and other health accessories. Initiatives have also been launched and to enhance productive and self-reliance among farmers. On youth development, through skills acquisition and training programs, Obasanjo's administration aims to empower youths, enhancing their self-reliance and contributing to the state's development. These developments are core and will take more time to at least explain to the people. But what is most important that I will need to draw attention to is, at the very time Obasanjo came into power, we are all aware of the security challenges in this state. He has been doing his best through all the security agencies in tackling the security challenges that we've been having in the state. He's been deploying both the kinetic and non-kinetic methods. And we could see even very recently that he has had to personally travel to Brinengwari, one of the worst affected local governments in Kaduna State in terms of the security challenges we have in the state, to ensure that the market there is opened to business as before. And of course, traffic in terms of the road is now open and people can now ply the road. Just like you can move from Abuja to Kaduna safely, as against what happens in the past, that is now happening in the Brinengwari Kaduna route. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we want to use this opportunity to felicitate with the NIPR. We want to thank you for the opportunity that you have given to Nigerians by using this platform to educate and inform the Nigerian people. And most importantly, I want to thank the chairman of this occasion for deeming it fit to make Kaduna and Kaduna State as the first port of call. Thank you so much. I wish you wonderful and resourceful deliberation.
Thank you very much, the representative of the Executive Governor of Kaduna State. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Peter Beggar is a prolific writer. In one of his books, he titled The Pyramid of Sacrifice, he said, man shall not live by bread alone. All he's saying is that when you are given bread, endeavor to open it up to be sure it was actually bread and not stone. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I know of a professor from the accounting department of Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, who is our lead in the discussion of today. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming to the podium the lead discussant for this program, Professor Mustafa Bagudo Mohammed. Thank you very much. I know professors, right from the time I was small, I think professors are special breed. His presentation is expected to last for 30 minutes, but I know this professor can do it in 5 minutes because they are special breed. Please, we appreciate if you can do it in 5 minutes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I will try my best to see how I can use 5 minutes to summarize what is contained in this paper. Distinguished Minister, esteemed panelists and honorable guests, good afternoon to you all. The discussion today is tax reforms. I don't want to take us to the benefit of this tax reform. It has already been said by the member of Presidential Committee. The benefits are many, and I believe Nigerians will get to see these benefits. My concern are the controversies raised. You know, we need to discuss the controversies, especially when you look at the northern Nigeria. There are a lot of concerns raised on this tax reform bill. Also, there are concerns in the academia, which I want to present some of the concerns so that the committee will also look at the concerns raised. So some of the weaknesses which we believe need to be discussed will be explained, especially on two things: development levy and the issue of VAT. They raise a lot of controversies. The first one is the issue of development levy. If you look at the development levy, they have the intention in the long run is to eliminate some aspects that we are benefiting now, which I want them to take into consideration. For instance, now the development levy, if you look at it, 2024 covers development levy, which is imposed on the accessible profit of all companies chargeable to tax under Chapter 2 and 3 of the bill. So currently, based on Third Fund Act 2011, NIGDA Act 2007, and Naseni Act, Cap 3, 2004 as amended, 3% tertiary education tax to Third Fund, 1% of PBT of banks and other organizations. In the long run, the Third Fund will be removed by 2030. The Naseni, they will all be removed. The question that we need to discuss, what is the implication of this? When you go to most high institutions in Nigeria today, what you can see is what? Third Fund structure. If you remove Third Fund structure in this institution, those institutions will cease to exist. If by 2030 you will say Third Fund will cease to exist, what will happen to the Nigerian high institutions? The first question is that what the government, we are thinking in the academia is that the government is planning to privatize these institutions so that they will be charging fees to students, which in the long run is going to affect the poor people. I want them to look into this. Then the second thing, the other units also that are going to be eliminated in the long run, because in the long run only student loan will benefit from this. please look at the implication on this or of all this thing on the Nigerians. Then the second one is issue of BAT. Please, most concerns are being raised by the Northerners. We should take note. We should look at this thing carefully. To me, it doesn't have negative effect on us. It's just that we are raising concerns that are unnecessarily. Concerns that we need to talk to ourselves. In the long run, if we can put our house in order, we are going to benefit in this. My concern is it the 60% based on derivation or is it based on consumption? If it is based on consumption, Northerners should not panic. Number one, they said 20% based on equity. What is our concern on that 20% based on equity? We are all part of Nigerians. They said 20% based on population. Who is going to benefit when it comes to population? Northerners. Now, the third component is our concern. The concern is that if the 60% is based on consumption, then why are we worried? Why are we worried? Because if it is based on derivation, now there is a problem because derivation would be affected. Maybe most of the companies are based in Lagos. They are, that is our concern. But me, I want a situation whereby, I'm sorry, I'm trying to be frank. This is my own personal opinion. Remove the population. We don't want that population to be included. Include production and consumption. If you produce, certain percentage will go to you. If you consume, certain percentage will go to you. It means if you want to benefit, you must be willing to produce and you must be willing to what? Consume. So please, I am calling on our Northerners. We should find a way to make our economy better. We can do better. If you go through the paper, you will see a lot of concern. Number one, the Northerners are concerned about uneven economic structure. The issue here, the North has predominantly agrarian economy with limited industrial and commercial activities compared to the South. Then we should have incentive to now industrialize our what? Our North. If we industrialize our North, it means we will benefit better. Why are we afraid? Is it that we don't want to industrialize, we want to keep being the way we are? No, the North should not have that concern. Number two, impact on small and informal business. When you look at the North economy is heavily reliant on small scale and informal businesses, which often lack formal tax record and registration. Is it not the responsibility of our tax authorities to bring this thing into this informal sector into the tax net? Take the case of Kaduna State. Kaduna State is a very good example of what you can achieve great in terms of tax. Let me tell you, we have more avenue to get money from tax than people are thinking. But we allow this informal sector by not bringing them into the tax net. How can we generate? Other states are bringing them into the tax net, they are generating, and we are now complaining. What are we supposed to do? We should find a way to bring this informal sector into our tax net so that we can generate more revenue. Now, when you look at issue of digital and financial inclusion, yes, we are left behind. Whose fault? I'm very sorry, I'm not a politician and I'm not talking in a political way. The issue of digitalization, our politicians need to find a way to make the North to be digitalized. We need to make our businesses to be what? Digitalized. We should not have the habit of complaining. Other people have done their effort and they have achieved something and we want to be complaining. We should not be found wanting in terms of complaint, but we should find a way to what? To make our own economy to be what? To be better. We have a better way of bringing this thing to our own economy. Then issue of religion. I'm very sorry. Marlon has left here. You said alcohol is not allowed in Islam. Then why are you worried about the income that is generated from alcohol despite the fact that it's prohibited for you? If another person allow it there and he is generating revenue, allow him to generate his what? Revenue and benefit from it. Your religion, we have to respect our religion. In fact, in Islam, we should go and ask our scholars. Any income from that is not even halal. Then why are you worried that you should also be part in sharing of that income? So in nutshell, the 5 minutes given to me, I have a lot to say, but let me tell you, the North and the people that have concerns, they should not politicize this tax reform bill. We should not make it a northern affair and we scare the northerners so that we are trying to make them feel as if government is not concerned about them. We should critically look at this tax bill. We should do justice to ourselves and we should be part of Nigeria and we should contribute to Nigeria. Thank you very much.
I believe the applause can be a bit louder. Thank you very much, Professor, for doing justice to that. Thank you. If I had all the powers in this room, I believe I would have given you more time to continue, but thank you very much. Please, another round of applause for Professor Mustafa Bagudu. Thank you. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we're pressed for time, so quickly we'll move to the panel discussion. And to lead us off in the panel discussion, permit me to invite to the microphone the moderator, Dr. Mohammed Awa Haruna, Fellow of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. Please, a round of applause for him.
The chairman of this occasion, the Honorable Minister of Information and National Orientation, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to keep us longer than necessary. I have been told that we have 15 to 20 minutes to do the panel discussion, and I believe we'll try as much as possible, despite the fact that this is a very sensitive and very important issue. We'll try to keep to the time. So, having said that, I would like to just go straight away and invite members of the panel discussion to please come and take their seats so that we can continue with the proceedings. May I please invite Senator Comrade Shehu Sani, who is one of our distinguished panelists, to come to take his seat. A round of applause, please, for him. May I also invite Dr. Ahmed Sajo, who is a distinguished public commentator and analyst and a former commissioner of information, Adamawa State. It is also my pleasure and honor to invite our Iron Lady in the team, Professor Hawa Evelyn Yusuf, so that we are gender sensitive. May I also invite Professor Okechukwu, a very distinguished public commentator, a columnist. I'm sure many of you have read his columns on this day, every weekend, on Saturday specifically. He's a vastly experienced public commentator. Professor Okechukwu to the high table. Last but not the least, may I also invite one of our own, a very distinguished also member of the Institute, Professor Cosmos Eze from the Department of Mass Communication, Bayero University, also to take his, ABU. Forgive me for that. Well, they are one and the same, so to speak. Ahmadu Bello University. Please, I am told to please plead with those people at the back to reduce, speaking so that we can hear ourselves, because this is one of the most important aspects of these deliberations today. Let me take my seat. and kickstart these proceedings with asking our distinguished Senator Comrade to Is it okay, sorry. Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I understand that there's going to be a short video for 2 minutes to be played so that we can just watch it before we proceed. That video, please. Yes, the technical people. Quickly, please, so that we don't spend much time. Okay, I think we'll continue so that when the video is ready, perhaps we'll take it later because of time. Like I said, I would like to give our distinguished Senator Comrade maximum 4 or 5 minutes, 3 minutes. Where 3 minutes, we'll give 3 minutes to each because of time. But please let us pay attention and listen so that we can benefit from these proceedings. Because after the plenary, this is the session that the meat and the bone will be taken out so that we understand better these tax reform bills. Our distinguished Senator, you have the floor. I yield the floor to you, sir, so that you can make your intervention looking at the pros and cons of this tax reform bill, and I'm sure we'll benefit from that experience of your being a former senator in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Sir, you have the floor.
Permit me to skip the normal protocol of recognition, since you have all recognized all of us. First of all, the discussion here is on tax reforms. And the conversation going on in the country is on tax reforms. What are these tax reforms bills before the National Assembly? Therefore, the Nigerian tax bill, the Nigerian Tax Administration Bill, the Nigerian Revenue Service Establishment Bill, and the Joint Revenue Bill. Many people don't even know that these are the bills before the National Assembly. There is a philosophical saying that a fine is a tax you pay for doing something wrong, and a tax is a fine you pay for doing something right. The reforms is about Nigeria, is about our future, is about our economy, is about our well-being, is about our lives. And people were elected into office to either serve at the executive capacity or at the legislative capacity. Unfortunately, what I've seen since this conversation on tax reform bill has started is that the whole issue is politicized. And we are no more talking about the content and the clauses of the bill. It is all mirrored in politics. And it has reached a crescendo today, people are even afraid of voicing out their opinion, including the senators and the members of House of Reps. I have listened to a senator from this state recently who is in the local media opposing the bill, but he couldn't stand on the floor of the Senate to express his opinion. Now, these are the kind of people you elected into office. He is here. He gathered the Hausa radio station to speak, to appease and please the populace. But he wasn't standing on the floor. People have been so intimidated, especially from this part of the country, not to even speak on the bill. The governors themselves are evading questions and explanations on the bill. The ministers from this region, except my brother here and a few of them, are avoiding talking about the bill. I have not seen town hall conferences organized by lawmakers to explain the bill. The bill is not a word casted or cast on marble. Once a bill is before the National Assembly, it goes through the stage of first reading, second reading, public hearing, third reading, joint conference between the House and the Senate, and then the final debate, and then a decision is taken. There's a process. I don't know the kind of people you elect into office. I've seen a senator. I was going through his social media handle. He can't talk. If I stand for this bill, you know me, I will stand on that floor and say I stand for that bill. And if I'm opposed to it, I'm actually opposed to it. You must take a position. That's why it is not, you can be a senator, share constituency, goods, share money, share rights. But where you stand in the moment of truth like this is what matters. There is nowhere in the world where reforms are easy. When you are to shift from the life you are used to another, you are bound to pass through turbulence and storms before you arrive where you are. There is a message in that bill. And of all that have been said about the bill, the most important message for those of us from this northern part of Nigeria is that we should look inwards. States taking federal allocations to build bridges where there is no water, no go-slow, no nothing. And 80 to 95% of their industries have collapsed. Need to tell ourselves the truth. I will prefer us going close by close into the details of these bills. But the only thing that was used, two things, to destroy this bill is that government will raise taxes and that the bill is against the North. A professor here has succinctly defined, described, and deciphered the content of this bill. Even many people who are here can't recall what he said here. So, what I want us to understand is this is the first time in the history of Nigeria where a bold and courageous attempt is made to reconfigure, reset, and rearrange Nigeria's economy that has been parasitic, dormant, and docile. We have been told that this is the giant of Africa, but where lies our economy? Kaduna is a state today that is counted among those with the highest IGR. Unlike in the past 8 years, where people are extorted. You can see the level of freedom, of liberty, of unity between Muslims and Christians, and of business activity thriving in the state from 29th of May 2023 to date. These are realities you can see. For those in government, you have to understand that you will continue to be opposed, you will continue to be challenged until the fruit of those reforms started bearing fruit. It happened in Malaysia, it happened in Indonesia, it happened in Argentina, it happened in Brazil. There will be turbulence, there will be crisis, there will be opposition. Nobody will call you a sweetheart when you are making reforms. But the very day people started seeing the fruit of what you are doing, public opinion will change. And I will say this on the last note, that the choice before us as a country is either to continue to do things in the past, or we take a new path for the future. Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates have started working for a post-oil future. We've been talking of restructuring. This tax reform bill is one step of it. Areas that we have concerns about are areas our own lawmakers representing us should raise issue, not to condemn, to corrupt, or to peddle falsehood and fake ideas about the bill. The bill is good for Nigeria, and I'm in support of it, and I want it to be implemented, and I want the people you elect into office, call them to order, air your view, not intimidate. The Deputy Senate President has been so intimidated to the point that he is about to change his views.
Okay.
For people like us, we can't do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, distinguished Senator, true to type. The message is there's nothing to be afraid of. We need to look at the issues and also think about restructuring our economy so that we can be active players in the federation. Let me go to Professor Oke. I hear in the professor's presentation to the effect that 2 key institutions will be scrapped. And I know, sir, you have studied this bill since the time when it was presented to the National Assembly, and you have studied extensively and you have written extensively. Sir, I would like you to address that issue, because this is an important forum for us to go with an informed position, not misrepresentation or misinformation. And then you make your other interventions quickly in 5 minutes, and then we can continue. In 3 minutes, sorry.
Thank you very much. I'd like to first start by congratulating the minister. This is an institutional approach to public communication. Stakeholders are here. I don't know of many ministers who will dare to chair an occasion when there's controversy. Please, let's clap for this type of minister. You know, the second thing is for us to know that every policy of government is intended to address some public good. Now, in the crafting of that policy, nobody is perfect. The policy came out, and I'm glad, Prof, I'll still make a comment on some of the issues you raised. You really brought it home to all of us. So if there are issues and you don't talk about it, controversy multiplies. What I say, imagine from this engagement, as brief as it is, a growing consensus. Am I correct? Am I correct? It's been demystified, so I thought I should place that on the table. Now, concerning ETF, Tertiary Education Trust Fund, Nasenia and the rest of them,
they will simply be migrated to direct funding. So the question of dispatch, this, what do you call it, scrapping. Prof, you're going away. My conversation is with you. Those who think you should sit down, say aye. Prof, you're not going anywhere. The ayes have it. You know, so, but let's also approach the institutions. You remember the PTF? PTF was a consumption tax on petrol, isn't it? And it was put aside to be used for infrastructure. Tertiary education transfer arose when the crisis of funding of tertiary education became an issue. But you will have noticed that over time, all sorts of things are funded from there. Am I correct, Prof? Even as well, you, Professor, you are angry like me. There is no longer a tertiary education trust fund. Now, all over the world, states are shrinking. The camera I'm holding here is a TV camera, is a clock, is a lot of things. Miniaturization. So instead of expanding institutions, you begin to shrink them. Now, if tertiary education trust fund is good to be a budget and funded platform, assessing from a, you see, when you have a single access point for development funding that comes from such taxation, it becomes a question of who is entitled, whose name will be on that list. Am I correct? So nothing is really lost in that context. It's a question of better public education. But the other things you raised, which I think we might benefit from, you spoke of, yes, VAT. The point you raised, the thing to do there is public education. In fact, this is one of the best speeches I've had anybody make about the interventions by people in an environment that can help the North. You raised the matter of, what's the other one? Production and consumption. So what I say, imagine, is a tax reform bill that's going to compel those who are serious about leadership to make their environment attractive to investment. You go and tie a road, and it's not peculiar to the North. I've been to a place where the road, a flyover for nearly, that was built for nearly 1.8 billion somewhere in the further southern part of the country. You cross that place, 9 people have motorcycles in the area, 9. And it's a fishing area. That's the sort of thing that has to end. You see, the tax reform bills is going to compel closer attention to development, closer attention to proper IGR. And the argument you've advanced applies to the Southeast when you speak of SMEs. What you're saying, if I'm a tanner in Kano, I'm doing dyeing business, I'm producing a hide and skin. By the time you finish explaining the benefit to me, I'll be the one to go and look for other tradesmen to explain it to. This narrative needs to go to the Southeast. So you see that from just in less than how many hours, we are seeing a total demystification of a bill that mischief makers thought that by talking extensively, we won't get a chance to look into the meat of it. Assuming you're from some other part of the country, I say, oh, they are the ones who are favored by it, but these are facts. The bills are development focused, they are investment focused, they're also human capital development focused, and they're striving to strengthen local economies. Because if you earn more by producing more, and you earn more by consuming more, and you're a place with a large population, what do? You produce more, number one, and you will consume more. So looking at it all together and coming back to the issue of what I expect that will further emerge from this is that the tendency for government to keep multiplying institutions without noticing that these institutions are not delivering value will have to end. I believe some agencies will have to be collapsed. I believe they'll have to be refined. I believe their funding will need to change. But the concern and the way it's couched, because I have been invited to a roundtable by a branch of ASU about the plan to, charge fees, make sure tertiary education is unaffordable. No. Let us ask ourselves, before TET Fund, was education doing badly in terms of funding? It was okay until something went wrong in the polity. Therefore, a lot of things for which we've created special interventions, where you have responsible leadership, attention to every institution that needs help, you're going to have everything properly funded. So that fear by ASU was in response to an initial position, which unfortunately some of our colleagues did not interrogate adequately. But it goes back to a point made earlier about the tendency, what you might call integrative deficit, the instinctive tendency to suspect that any information, any action of government has some terrible motives. Because I recall, and I'll end on this note, back then, I think that was 2006, when government thought of doing something about federal government colleges to make them budget items, each school, yeah. People say the schools are going to be sold to big men. So I think the point is essentially made.
Yes, I think that point, thank you, Prof. A round of applause for that intervention, and I believe this gives us the correct position of things as far as that subject is concerned. So let me come to Professor Hawa Ebelin. I want you, Professor, Madam, to tell this audience, since you have looked at the bills, what are some of the other strengths that this bill can bring for the benefit of Nigerians, and more specifically for people of this country, so that we will understand more that this is something that we should not be scared of, but we should engage and integrate and be part of. I want you to focus your discussions on that so that we can have better information and better position. Madam, Professor.
Thank you, sir, and I'd like to leverage on the existing protocols. The lead paper presenter had cleared a lot of doubts in the minds of majority of us seated here that this tax reform is something we should embrace. And why should we embrace it? It is because of what it will eventually bring to the table, which includes better livelihoods for every Nigerian. And it's just that the journey towards better livelihoods is usually a tough one. And this is going to be tough at the beginning, but will eventually deliver good governance. However, there's the need to engage in public relations through dialogue. It's very important that we understand that the common Nigerian does not trust government. And which way do we go to get them be trusted? One, there's the need to improve dialogue. And when we say dialogue, you make the dialogue to focus on various demographics. It's not just bring everybody into the same hall and speak in the same tone and in the same language and expect that they will understand it. You must put into consideration the specific demographics of Nigerian population, which will in turn inform their own understanding of the tax reform. This tax reform is something that will eventually allow me not to have to pay double tax. This is something that ordinarily, if you ask me, working in the university and paying a tax of almost 100,000 naira, while I earn less than 400,000 naira, you know, and you say from 5% to 17%, the first thing that comes to my mind is, I don't die. But the truth of the matter is that by the time this is properly implemented, my tax may even reduce by more than 60%. So there is the need for me to know that this thing will bring about a better livelihood for me as an individual. And that it is not about my religion. Neither is it about my location in the country. It is about collective success. And perhaps Nigeria may be better. What I would want us to look at is, there is the need for us to begin to build trust within the polity. We need to understand that I don't trust my government to collect this tax and use it to do something that will affect me as an individual. What I think, what comes to my mind is that this tax will just eventually enrich the already richer persons to my own detriment. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. The message from there is transparency and accountability in the administration and management of taxes when these bills are approved by the National Assembly and implemented. And I'm sure people in government are listening. Some of these concerns will be taken back to them. But the thing that interests me in your submission is the need to cascade this kind of platform to the lower level of our society, not the elites, but the people at the grassroots, so that they can understand and nobody will come and do propaganda for them and just play politics like our distinguished senator has said. So I think this is where I would invite our distinguished professor of communications, because this is one of your areas. Help us, sir, to see how that can be done through institutions like the NIPR and other bodies to reach out to the people at the grassroots so that people can fully understand the import and implication of these tax reforms, and then the nation can be carried on without this divisive, unnecessary debates that sometimes it does not lead us anywhere.
Thank you very much. Before I delve into the issue of public relations, I want to take a look at some aspects of the bill which are raising dust.
Yes, you have 3 minutes.
Yes, I know. Thank you for inviting me, Mr. Honorable Minister, sir. I am from the southeast, but I spent 30 years in the north. Before I came here, I asked for my own people to other people, what do you think I should say? I was receiving information from the east. If you go there and say nonsense, if you come here, we'll slaughter you. We know that we are the ones feeding them here. From my own constituency too in AB, we say, don't go there and say it is against us. Fortunately, my younger professor here has demystified some of these things. Let me tell you some of the aspects. Clause 77 of the tax bill, which moves the VAT from 15 to 10% to 55% and 35% to local government, is generating controversy. You remember that when he was governor, he started this idea. People thought that he had sold the idea to President Tinubu so that they should do something. How can he be partaking and sharing what you reject, don't want? So the idea now is that if 15% is to federal government, now it's 10%, state government get 55 and local government get some of these things. The idea is that some local governments and states which are endowed with some of the industry will get more. My friends from Borno State are saying, what of us, we have been impoverished by war, by insurgencies. We don't have such things. These are the fears. This is a very strong fear among them. Section, also in this portion, 22, clause 22, is also talking about 60% derivation. This is a very interesting aspect, which I want those who designed this to look at. People who are deriving this, the controversy, the way we are talking about here, isn't the way you're going to be receiving when you go to some other parts of the country. They're going to come with different views, and it's going to be based tenaciously on this derivation, 60%, and then is it derivation, consumption, or production? Very, very important. So I want this situation to be looked at critically. Another portion of it says that the president reserves the right to say that a company can be exempted. Executive decision of the president. Any company that is not doing well can be exempted from payment of any of these taxes, which people look at it as if it's political. So these are some of the issues and controversies that are raising dust. However, engagement is good. The tax reform is okay. But another aspect is that there are some other areas. We have digitized some of our tax collection system in Nigeria. Custom has digitized. Other people have digitized. So what will happen to them? This bill will repeat 11 other existing tax reform measures.
Welcome back from the live telecast. We'll now continue with our regular programs. Stay tuned.
Yobe State in northeast Nigeria has witnessed steady growth in many sectors in